Okay, Greg, check and see.
Okie dokie. There it is. There it is. I got the link. Now I am going to
Mm-hmm.
share this to a bunch of Facebook group sites and things like that. But Tanisha, I just put the link to the actual show in the chat.
Okay, I see it.
Okay, so if you want to cut and paste that and send that to Darlene or anybody else who you would want to give a direct link to the show. Now I'm going to share it to a bunch of sites. Hey, I'm hearing some background noise that I don't want to hear, so I'll be right back. Don't go away.
No problem, Greg. I'm here.
Thank you.
Greg.
All right, sir, whenever you are ready.
Okay. And hold Greg. And take it, Greg.
Welcome, everyone. It is 6:16 on Monday night. You're listening to the 227th installment of the Age Out Angels Radio Hour, right here on www.hamiltonradio.net Channel 2. I'm your host, Greg Rapport. If you're new to the show, I'm the founder and director of Age Out Angels. We provide one-to-one mentors to vulnerable youth for the purpose of coordinating the care and services that they need to thrive. We try to help young people avoid some of the horrible pitfalls that they're likely to face when they don't have a proper safety net. And this program is brought to you every week at the same time, courtesy of Doc G, William Saunders, Ruben Rodriguez, and all the fine people here at Hamilton Radio who allow us to use this airtime. Ruben is on the big board tonight, as always. Robin is producing, as always. So great to have both of you with me, and so good to have everyone listening at home from your computers or in your cars in New Jersey, around the country, and beyond. Now, please take a moment. If you're looking at us on Facebook or YouTube, hit all the buttons for me, okay? We need you to like and subscribe and especially share, because this is relevant to everyone in your world. What you're going to hear tonight applies to every geographic region, including where you live. And it needs to be shared. And it might not be easy. You know, the first part of this is going to be a little raw. You should be forewarned about that. And you should know that if any of this triggers any feelings in anyone, 988, it's a simple number to call now, okay? If you want to talk to a trained peer counselor, if anyone's thinking about harming themselves. But this needs to be shared. It's a difficult subject. It's very hard to talk about, but it needs to be shared. And you know that if you're interested in child welfare and you're interested in community betterment, this is the program where you come to get the whole truth. And I promise what you will hear tonight is not going to be on the nightly news, because tonight we're going to focus on a guest who is a real survivor. And in a minute, I'm going to introduce you to Tanisha Bankston, the author of My Pain is My Power. But before I do that, I just want to give a quick mention to the Bridges of Employment program. It's hard to imagine that you can progress a full grade level equivalent in just 8 weeks, but it is possible. A whole year of school is tremendously overrated, in my opinion, because in 8 weeks, you can progress a complete grade equivalent, but you have to do the work. Okay, that's the thing, is that you do have to do the work. So if you have, say, 2 or 3 grade levels to make up 8 weeks per grade level, that means, well, you know what it means? It means if you have 4 years of school to make up, you can do that in 32 weeks. 32 weeks to make up 4 years of school. What I'm trying to impress upon everyone is there has never been an opportunity like this before, and there may never be an opportunity like this again. And here's the qualifier. If you were ever in foster care, that means if you ever had a foster care case number, you could be reunified, you could be adopted, any number of things could have happened. But if you ever had a case number in your life, you qualify to be a part of the Bridges to Employment program. And if you have not completed high school, or if you've completed high school, but you're finding out that when you try to go for post-secondary training or even the military, they won't let you in because your skills aren't high enough, we can give you those brush-up skills and get you into those programs, okay? The only thing I can tell you for certain is school was never like this before. And that's all we're going to talk about school tonight, because tonight is about real life. Tonight is about coping with abuse. And we're sort of commemorating 3 monthly themes in the United States right now. It's Pride Month, right? Everybody's is seeing that. But it's also PTSD Awareness Month. And it's also Gun Violence Awareness Month. And I thought it would be nice to, do a little bit about each of those in the shows that we do during this month. So the thing is, to talk about PTSD, you can't do that without talking about abuse, right? And trauma. And so that's what we're going to do a little bit with my guest tonight. I want to say hi to Tanisha Bankston, the author of My Pain is My Power, and this wonderful quote that I tell people all the time now, I quote you, giving others a safe space to talk about abuse. Welcome to the Age on Angels Radio Hour, Tanisha.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you so much. It's an honor to have me, and it's an honor to be here.
Well, it's an honor for us to have you. Now, Tanisha, all of this positive energy comes from a very dark place, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So can you tell us, like, how old were you when you first started to realize that things could be going better for you?
I was in my, reality didn't start hitting until I was in my 30s. And I just turned 35 on the 3rd of June of this month.
Yeah. So you were so when do you realize the first instances of abuse?
When I first realized, I was as I started getting older, maybe in my teens, 17, 18, things started vividly coming to me. And I started I've always known and had a feeling in the back of my mind that something was not, these things that were going on with me, they were not right. I didn't know what it was called or what it was, but I just knew things that was going on with me early as 5 were not right.
Yeah. So your memories of this go back to the age of 5.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you talk about that at all? What your memories are of that? Are you able to do that?
Yes, I'm able to do it now, but it took a long time, 27 years, to talk about it.
I can imagine it did. Yes. Well, we'll stop anytime. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay, starting when I was 5 years old, when I was first raped and molested by a friend of the family member. I was once this happy, playful little girl laughing, and all of a sudden, after the man doing something, raping and molesting me, ripping my legs open and gapping my legs open, and forcing himself inside of me. And I didn't know, like I said, know what it was. I just knew something wasn't right. So somehow I managed to get him off of me and run across the railroad tracks to find my mom. And I was able to tell my mom that, something had just happened to me. This man did something to me. And I remember my mom calling 911 and remembering the ambulance come. And I remember before being placed inside of the ambulance, there was a shift. It's like the light bulb went off. There was a shift that happened inside of my brain. And from that moment, I became someone else. I was no longer the playful little girl anymore. It's like I was isolated. I was shut down. I became this shy little girl. And I just became someone else. At the age of 5, I'm not knowing anything about rape, molestation, sexual assault, any of those things. But I did know something was wrong and something was not right. And like I said,
it sounds like you were understanding the emotional impact of violation, of being violated.
Right.
Yeah, that's, my goodness. So your mother's, can we say your mother's part in this Basically a family and a home is supposed to provide a consistent safety, comfort, right? Protection. Was your home not able to provide that?
No, it wasn't, because I was called a liar. I
Yeah.
feel like I was not protected because I was called a liar, and my rapist was never locked up. He's still out to this day, and he never got locked up. He said he didn't do it, and I was told by some family members that he did not do those things to me when I know what was done to me. I had to learn how to walk again. My legs were paralyzed. I remember having like the little metal braces on my leg. Blood was on the hospital sheets, and so I remember having to, like I said, my mind was. I became. I was. I would say I wasn't normal anymore. I became somebody else, easily bullied, targeted.
Yeah. Now that was one horrific experience. Was that person still living in the house with you after that?
No, he was never like living in the house with us. He was like a friend of the family that would come over to the house, and he would come over there from time to time. And that day, that morning, everybody left. Some of my family members left and went to my great grandmother's house. But I was laying in the bed going to sleep, but he never left. He was still there. And so, you know how you want to fight your sleep, trying to fight your sleep to go to sleep, but as a kid you can't fight it. It's so hard, right? So you're sleepy, you're going to sleep. But he never left the house. He never left. Everybody else left, but he stayed there. And when I fell asleep, all I remember is, him on top of me, holding his hand over my mouth and ripping my legs apart and forcing himself. I could vividly see these things. I could see the scars on his face. I could see everything.
Sure, absolutely. And now is this something that happened to you again? Or was this a one-time deal?
It happened not by him repeatedly, but after that, DHS had taken me and my siblings from my mom, and we were separated and placed with my aunts. Two of us, me and my baby brother, and the other siblings were placed with their family members. And it's just like there was something, I don't know, on my forehead or saying what, like, she's a bait, like, because it never stopped until I started getting older. And so from age 6, 5, it just never stopped.
Wow. So at what age were you taken away from your mother?
I was 5. Because this happened when I was 5 years old. I would say 5 or 6, but it happened when I was 5. And so they like took us right after and placed me with my aunt. And so I was still 5, and all of this just continued on.
Yeah, so that's the weird part. I mean, they noticed that you were physically harmed. I mean, certainly that was obvious. The physical signs were there. You went to the hospital, right?
Right.
Yeah. So the physical signs were there, and they knew that had happened. They took you out of your mother's house and moved you in with your aunt. Now, was there a male present in your aunt's house?
There was my aunt's boyfriend, but he's never said anything or never touched me any kind of way. It continued with her son, which was my cousin.
Oh, no.
So therefore incest started happening. I just found out what incest was, when I broke silence in 2021.
Yeah. And how old was he relative to your age?
I would say I was 5, and he had to have been like in his maybe 20s. Yes, he was like in his 20s. And so people say, why didn't you say anything? But I did say something when I was 5. I was called a liar. And so my voice got muted, and I was muted. And so therefore that stripped me forever speaking out again. So it took me 27 years to ever speak out again, because I didn't want, I didn't understand. Like, I didn't want I didn't want to be put out. I didn't want somebody to say, well, she's lying again. But when I wasn't lying, because there was proof there, right? And all
Yes.
the proof was there.
Yes,
So I just didn't
absolutely.
want that. So I had to basically just go on with it and cry out on the inside and never spoke out ever again.
Yeah.
Until
Yeah. So this abuse now begins at the hands of your aunt's occasional boyfriend. Is that what it was?
at the beginning, it
Or her
was
son? I'm sorry, her son,
her
your aunt's
son,
son. Yeah,
her,
who was
my
already an
aunt.
adult. He was an adult. You were a virtual baby at that point. And that abuse continued from the same man throughout years of age.
He did it for years, but it didn't continue with him. It started when I was 9. He did it from when I was like continuing 5, and then kept doing it for years. But when I was like 9 years old, it was another one of my aunt's boyfriend slash baby daddy. He started raping and molesting me, but I was told that I was never raped or I was never molested, that I was throwing myself on these guys. I don't know. I never did. I don't see how a 5-year-old, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year old could be doing that when these men were grown. And he did it when I was 9 years old. He would lure me into the woods and give me candy, give me $1 bills, corn wrappers. And he told me, he said, don't tell anybody. Yeah, he told me that he'll hurt my family. He'll hurt me. And so I had already had fear instilled in me when it happened the first time. And nobody ever believed me. Some of my family members said that they believed me, but nobody ever done anything for this man to ever be locked up. And time from time, when I go to my hometown, I still see him. And I've asked him, I was like, why won't you just tell the truth? Why won't you? He calls me crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a very common thing now when children suffer trauma, that what happens is you start to adapt your behavior in a different way than you behaved prior. And that's what I believe you're referring to when you say that you just kind of changed. You became like a different person at that point. Um, did you were you suffering from all the symptoms? Like, were you having trouble making any kind of close attachments with any caregivers? Did you note a caregiver in your life at that point?
No, because I was always withdrawn. I just stayed, like, I was just fine in a shell by myself.
Yeah. Did you sleep at night?
You know what? I think I slept. I slept at night. Well, I always had dreams. I would have a lot of dreams about clowns all the time. I
Clowns?
started clowns. I dreamed all
Wow.
the time about clowns when I was little, and I would just really, I would say I didn't have much time to sleep because men were like knock at my aunt's window and lured me out of the window. And another guy, when I was 11 years old, started molesting me, and he would take me to the train station, and there was in like a curtain on my window, so I could, how you could see somebody out the corner of your eye, and he would be like standing at the window, and he would pick on the window. He would raise the window up, or he would have me to raise the window up, and he would pick me up. And I have a scar on my back because my aunt has a brick house, and so from the bricks, I have a scar on my back from that, him getting me out of the window. And he would take me to the train
Mm.
stations and put me in there late at night when it rained, sleet or snow, and do what he would do to me. And he would even have sex with me while I was on my cycle. I started my cycle at 11 years old, and he would just do all kind of things to me, rupture my anus. And I would always cry. I didn't understand. Like I said, I knew things were wrong, but I just didn't understand why these things were happening to me. Why, from the age of 5 until the age of 23 years old.
Yeah. Did you go through that thing where you just sort of go blank, especially while it's being done to you? You just sort of shut everything off and don't feel anything.
Yes, I did. Like several times, I would just be numb. I would just go blank. I would just be there. Just be there.
That's where I'd go. I would just go numb.
A lot of times I went numb, but it was so many times that I felt all of those excruciating pains, felt like splinters were inside of me, prowling me, and me burning on the inside, and just sticking me and bleeding, and just so horrific. And I would look in the mirror when they would be done with me and send me home. And my God.
No one would see you come home like bleeding and finally believe you.
No, because I would go into the bathroom. They would tell me, go to the bathroom. Some of them would say, take a bath. And some of them would say, don't take a bath. And I didn't know how to speak out ever again, like I said, until I was 29 years old when I broke silence. And
did it make you feel like it was your fault?
Yes. I always felt like it was my fault. Like I did something wrong, because I've always been told that it was my fault, that some people, when I got backlash, said that I asked for it. It was because of what I was wearing, the shorts that I was wearing. But I never, ever came on to any older men. I never asked for them to do the things that they did to me. I never asked for any of those things. And I got pregnant at 13 by my cousin husband. And I didn't even know I had a baby inside of me. I didn't know what was going on. I mean, I'm 13 years old. I should be playing outside with my friends, but I never got a chance to enjoy my childhood because I feel as though it was stripped and taken from me. And
no doubt. Where's that child now?
She's in college. She's going to be a junior in August. She's majoring social work. Right. And I am so proud of her. And I pat myself on the back every day, because I say, no matter what you went through, I feel like I'm a good mom. No, I didn't know how to be a mom, but I was a 14-year-old kid with a baby. 14.
Yeah.
In the 8th grade. 8th grade with a baby. But I still managed to go to school. I still managed to graduate high school. But I failed kindergarten because I missed over 60 days of school, having to be in the hospital, from the injuries that were done to me.
Right. From the injuries that no one believed actually happened to you.
Right. And no one believed. My mom even said that the doctor told her that when I got older, I wouldn't be able to have kids because of what was done to me down there. Like he had ruptured and damaged me so bad, but he never got locked up because he said he didn't do those things to me. I didn't do them to myself. I can remember everything. Well, it didn't start coming to me until later. I started journaling and writing, and I started you talked about PTSD, that this is PTSD Awareness Month.
Indeed.
And yes, I have PTSD, and PTSD is so real. It don't just happen to people in the military. It happens to trauma victims, survivors, and those flashbacks, those nightmares. And I zone out sometimes as I'm driving. Sometimes my mind would just drift off to other places, and I have to just shake back. Just literally have to shake back, or somebody could be talking to me and ask me something. Sometimes I may forget, and they may have to repeat and ask me that question again. And I tell them, I'm not trying to. It's just, they call it something when your brain does that. When you forget things.
What symptoms of PTSD do you suffer? Well, first of all, do you suffer from these symptoms every day? Is this a chronic thing, or does it sort of come and go as it triggered?
I would say it comes and goes as a trigger.
So something may happen or bring it up or something like that causes certain feelings to reemerge.
Yes, and then or sometimes I can just be riding down the road and there's like something just come up in my mind. It just something will just come up and I just zone out. Or it can be a smell or something.
Yeah. Do you ever just like you'd be minding your own business and all of a sudden you just get mad?
No, I haven't. No,
Ever done that?
I've never done it.
No, now I realize, what was I mad at? Well, I was zoning back into something that happened a long time ago, but I'd be like real mad, blood pressure go up,
Yeah, and I feel as though I have high blood pressure. I feel as though it's from, some of the things a lot of the things that I've gone through.
Yeah.
And the high blood pressure, because I have PTSD, nightmares, and flashbacks. I had anxiety and depression real bad, but God has definitely healed me through a lot of things. He healed the hole that was in my soul. I had a hole in my soul from everything that I had been going through, and I guess carrying all that heaviness, that weight. And people say, baby, you got to release that. That's not your weight to carry. You didn't cause those things to happen to yourself. So, and like how you were talking about the foster care, and I've always tried to get my records from, I was adopted and I was placed in the system, right? So I've been trying to get my records ever since I started being able to think about and talk about, what's been going on. So they said after 10 years, they would purge your records.
Oh, really?
That's what they told me. That's what I was told. I went to the hospital because a lot of a rape kit, DNA, and all those things had been done. But I was told that after 10 years that my records were purged. So I want my records. I feel like I have those rights to have my records. And I've been trying to get a judge to sign off to see if they have any in the courts and file, but he hasn't signed off on the affidavit that I requested. And I just still feel as though the system failed me because it was all in front of their eyes and nobody ever said or done anything.
In many ways, the system failed you in many, many, many ways. Were there other abuses besides the sexual that we've been talking about? Like, apart from these lunatics who had their hands all over you, was your home life like? Was it a secure house? Did you have plenty of food to eat? Did you have clothing? Did you have the basic things that a person needs?
Yes, my aunt, she made sure I had the basic things like food, clothes. There wasn't a lack for any of those things. It was just the sexual abuse and domestic violence going on.
Now, so describe domestic violence. What's that? Domestic
violence when I was 14 years old, when my dad started like messing with me. I ended up in a situation I didn't know what it was, where he was time to time he would jump on me, and time to time he would put me out of my own place. As I got older, at 17 years old, I moved out of my aunt's house and got my own place, and he would put me out, like I said, and jump on me. And I've been just in abusive and toxic and dysfunctional relationships after getting out of that situation at the age of 23. And so it's yeah.
It's a course for your life in the men who seek you out, and the ones that you develop relationship with. Is that something you can work on? Can you get better at your choice of partners?
Yes. I feel like you can. I feel like before dating somebody, you should like get to know a person and everything. Yeah. Because the guy that I'm dating now, we haven't had the best relationship. We haven't had the best things have been up and down with the both of us. And he's got trauma on his end from things that he has to, deal with, and from also childhood. I feel like those are things that you need to talk to with your partner before just jumping into something, before just being intimate with somebody, because soul ties are so real. And
yeah, those traumatic events govern the way you react to life to some degree now, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah, they do. They aren't things that just kind of go away with time, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you are making a choice of say like a friend, not an intimate partner, but just friend relationships. How are you with those? Do you trust? That's what I'm asking.
Yes, I trust. Sometimes I feel like I trust too easily. I don't understand why, because after all that I've been through,
And when did you get adopted, Tanisha?
I got adopted when I was 5. From right after, it was right after leaving the hospital from, the things that the first man had done to me.
Uh-huh.
So the paperwork didn't happen right then, but I remember CPS taking me to my aunt's house and saying that, she's going to be my caregiver, and she had all of my rights and paperwork. It's so ironic because I can vividly remember hearing these things and seeing them. I can see them.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Trust your gut. Always trust your gut. So it was actually, so the adoption was your aunt. Your aunt adopted.
Yes, my aunt adopted me. So I was told that you stay in their custody until you turn the age of 18.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And I mean, do you believe that when your aunt adopted you, her intentions were honorable?
when you say that, what do you mean?
I mean, she didn't adopt you to feed you to her son.
Right. No, I don't think she did. I don't believe her intentions were meant for any of these things to happen to me.
Yeah.
So
She didn't see that coming, did she?
she didn't see that coming. She didn't see those things coming.
But when it did come, she couldn't accept that out of her own son.
Yeah. So I told her, like I said, I just spoke out when I was 29 years old. I broke silence July 3rd, 2021. And when I spoke out, I got so much backlash from some of my family members. And it was, I almost went muted. I almost went quiet again because it was just so much backlash to handle. And I didn't know that speaking out that you will get backlash. A lot of things I had to learn on my own from own experiences. And, I was never believed.
Right. No, your feelings were never validated. You were never given a chance to believe in the feelings that you knew you were having. So it feeds self-doubt, right?
Right.
Feeds self-doubt. When you were growing up, did that lead you to grow up to be not a very confident child growing up?
Yes, I had very low self-esteem, poor self-esteem. I always felt ugly, and I was easily picked on. I was bullied growing up in school. Kids used to say I used to like grown men, but that was not my case. I did not like grown men. I didn't want grown men to be doing the things that they did to me. Nobody ever said, Tanisha, hey, are you okay? I don't even remember seeing a social worker. Only time I remember seeing a social worker was when I had my baby at the age of 14. The social worker came and talked to me about parenting. But hey, I'm 14 years old. I'm just a kid. I didn't understand some of those things that they were talking about. And I just felt like I was basically, I felt like I was just floating in the air. Like I was just there.
Yeah, you can't possibly have any perspective at all on what's going on in a situation like that. Certainly nothing like the adult who's talking to you. That's for sure. So the relationship between your turning around and coming to stand in this truth and religion, what's the time relationship there?
Well, 27 years of breaking silence, July 3rd, 2020. When I broke silence, July 3rd, I'll never forget. I felt the biggest like water had just fell on me, and I felt a relief, and that was like the beginning of my journey of breaking.
How did you do that? How did you break silence?
I I shared a post in a mom's support group. I was having problems out of my teenage kids, and I didn't know what to do, how to deal with it.
Welcome to the
And
club.
so the mom and I was saying, hey, I don't know what to do. I'm also a sexual assault and a domestic violence survivor. I feel like I'm on the verge of committing suicide, and I need some help. So she suggested me to this support group and called NASA National Adult Abuse. Have you heard of that organization? No. And so I reached out to them and I shared my part of the things that I had gone through, and they invited me to speak on their radio talk show. And so I did that. And then that's when I rediscovered my inner voice. And so from that moment, I never, ever hushed again, except for one. The more I spoke, the more backlash I got. And the more I spoke and the more backlash I got. I also had other survivors saying, hey, don't let somebody dim your light, shine your light. Your voice needs to be heard. And I just kept on speaking. And so God started speaking to me. He's always been speaking, but I didn't have the ear. I wasn't listening. And so on September 3rd, 2021, I never forget, God spoke to me in a dream, and he said, if you want me to heal, deliver you, and set you free, you must do these things. You must forgive. And that was the hardest thing. It was so hard to forgive.
Whoa. Forgive, that is a tough one.
It was so tough. It was so tough. But
man.
Yes, he said, you have to forgive everybody who's done things wrong to you. And he told me to get up and he said, pray. I want you to praise me. I want you to run from one room to the next room. And I was still shy, timid. And my boyfriend said, if God tells you to do those things, then you have to do those things. So I started doing those things, and I could feel the devil over here. He was pulling me. He said, hallelujah. He said, I'm not releasing you. He says, you're mine, that I have you. I could hear these things. I could hear these voices talking to me. And so the angels were on the right side. They said, yes, tell him he's a liar. He's a liar. So I started, there was a tug and war there was like a tug and war. And so I kept running. And so my boyfriend left the house, and he let me I had my time, and I felt chains like really falling off of me. The shackles came off of me, and my mind just started being clear and free. But I started the PTSD started getting worse. The nightmares started getting worse. And then there was like the enemy started continuing to say, you're mine, you're mine, you're mine. But later that night, on around 2 or 3 o'clock that morning, I felt fire in my belly. I got up and I started speaking in tongues. I started speaking different languages. I started just repenting and talking to God. I never had that to happen to me in my life. And so the more I walk on this journey, the more I walk and develop and get closer to God, the more the enemy still tries to come in and to feed me with these lies and things like that. And so I just continue on. And I say, we don't understand what we go through in life. It's not for us, it's to help the next person and things like that. Like, I don't feel as though God meant for all those things to happen to me, but he was with me that whole time through it all, because I don't understand how I survived all of those horrific. I never lied about anything. Everything that I've told and just talked about is so true. And I wouldn't wish any of this on anybody, on nobody, because the trauma behind it is horrific. It's horrible.
I can't imagine. I cannot imagine what or how you were able to endure that time. Now you said you finished school. right?
Yeah.
You finished high school. Did you go on? Did you do any other things like college or certificate programs or any of that kind of stuff?
Yes, when I finished high school, I went enrolled right into college, Holmes Community College. I was the first out of my immediate family to go to college,
Good for you.
to graduate college. I continued on.
Graduate.
I graduated from Holmes with my associate's degree. I went on and got my certification as a pharmacy technician. I later went on and got my certification. I'm a licensed insurance agent. I went to real estate school, certification as a life coach, and I just started a nonprofit organization. I'm in the process of getting it 501c3 status. And it was like no matter what, school was my way out. I loved going to school. That was like my safe space. I felt safe by going to school, even though I was being bullied by some of the kids at school by saying the things, what they said to me, but I felt safe. I loved going to school. I was still able to function and do schoolwork. But now when I was raped and molested at 5, I had a hard time focusing. I couldn't focus in school. I didn't know what was going on. I had a hard time remembering, but when I went on to I repeated the kindergarten, and then I kept going on, went on and graduated high school. And it's just like school has always been something that I love to do. And I just continued on. I've even gone to EMT school and just so much. And I just thank God each and every day.
That's been, yeah, very fortunate. I'm sure that you have a certain level of intelligence that makes school be a little bit more fun. So there's nothing wrong with that, certainly. Were you able to support yourself?
I was. The way I supported myself was when I graduated, because I was working at Wendy's making $5.35 an hour, right? At that time, I had 2 babies. So I had no other choice but to take out student loans in school because I couldn't make it. 17 years old with 2 babies, going to school, having a car, having my own place. But I was able to take out student loans, and I survived and I made it. And I still stand to this day.
Excellent. So what do you do? Like, what's your main source of living now?
I'm certified in life coach. I'm not really active in that right now. I'm a licensed insurance agent, and so I sell life insurance, and I'm an author, so I sell my books.
And we'll talk about your book. Yes, indeed. Somewhere in that chronological timeline that you gave us, you started writing a book. Now, when did that come?
That came when I was 17, 18 years old. I knew I wanted to write a book. I knew I wanted to share my story. I knew I wanted my voice to be heard. And I would always write everything down that started happening to me from the age of 5 on up until I got out of the domestic situation. And so the pandemic happened, 2020, while I was working at Walmart. God spoke to me in a dream and said, "It's time to write your book." He said, "It's time to leave your job at Walmart." And so I did just that. I trusted God. And so after leaving Walmart, I picked up my laptop and I started just typing. I didn't know how to format, what to do. I just started typing. And before I knew it, I had typed over 30,000 words. And I just started Googling and researching different publishing companies and publishers. And I just reached out to somebody, and they told me, like, "We want your book. We want it. We can help you." And so I didn't go with that company. I chose another company to go with. And my book was birthed. My Pain is My Power was birthed May 21st, 2021. 2021. My book was self-published on Amazon and Barnes and Noble.
Right. Okay. So tell us about the book.
The book is about my life story, is from my pain and to my power, from being a sexual assault and a domestic violence survivor, an incest survivor, and how, I've gone through grief as well. I lost a brother to an accidental drug overdose. We were all separated growing up. And so it was just so much trauma from the age of 5 years old all the way up until 23, and still, things happening and going on in life. And so all that trauma, I've just turned it all that pain, I've just turned it into passion and power, and doing what I love to do, love to help other people, especially others like myself who's gone through or going through, sexual assault, abuse, mental illnesses, and things of like that. Things.
Yeah, your tagline was providing a safe space to talk about abuse. Is that what it is? Do I have that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Giving others a safe space to talk about abuse. It's like a beautiful sentiment. It's not something that people are ever comfortable about sharing outside of their own minds, is it?
No.
I mean, you never know what's going to come back at you when you do that. Sharing a story of abuse is a scary thing. And your family was, what I believe. I believe that they knew that it was happening. I mean, come on, there was so much physical evidence.
It was.
Right.
It was. Some say they didn't know, and
Right.
The more I talk about it, I really only just got backlash from family members.
Yeah, that's right. You know why?
Why is that?
Because by airing your dirty laundry in public, you tarnish the name of the family. The whole family feels that their name is tarnished. That's what happens. Instead of rooting out the evil and being rewarded for getting rid of the evil, they sweep the evil under the rug, let you pay the price, just to not have it be in public. Wow. I've been in this situation. The exact same situation where an older, relative called me a liar. And that's just how it is. That's just how it is. But your ability, different from me, is you were somehow able to forgive. I didn't have that. I did not forgive. I still haven't.
So by you not forgiving, like, does it not have do you not feel like it has a hold on you, like a strong hold or anything? Are you able to move forward and move on with life?
Oh, sure.
Stuck.
Yeah. No. It's not. It may have stuck me at one point in my life, but, I'm a little bit older now. And that happened, a long time ago. So no, I could tell you honestly that it doesn't interfere with my quality of life anymore. But I mean, do you see a therapist regularly?
I started seeing a therapist like when I turned 30, I started seeing a therapist, and I couldn't find the right one for me. So I just stopped seeing a therapist, but God delivered me. He healed me, and literally, I had this hole in my soul. I had body aches. It felt like I was being punched on and beat on at night. But when He delivered me, it's just like a lot of things just changed. The medication. I know medication is for some, and it wasn't for me. I felt as though that it was more a spiritual thing than a mental thing, and needing, the medication from the trauma. I mean, yes, I was diagnosed with the anxiety, depression, ADHD, PTSD, nightmares and flashbacks, and I just couldn't take the medication. And so I've been okay without it.
Did the medication just dull you?
It did. I was zoned out. I was hallucinating. It's like I would see demons coming after me.
No, I mean, it looks to me like you have certainly found a higher power that you are making, part of your foundational living experience. And that's that's a very, very beautiful thing. Yeah. You know what makes me sad though, can I tell you?
Yes.
What makes me sad is that we're out of time and I'm not going to get to talk to you anymore. So before we go, don't do that. Don't go away just yet, because I want you to tell people if you have a Facebook page, a URL, a website, any kind of ways that they can get in touch with you and buy your book, perhaps.
Okay.
So please go ahead and tell everyone.
Okay. Yes, I can be found on Facebook under Tanisha Bankston. Also, I have a business page on Facebook. My Pain is My Power, LLC. I have a website for my book. Is www.mypainismypower.com. And I also have, like I said, a website. And my book is on Amazon and Barnes and Noble under My Pain is My Power. And I have a support group on Facebook for survivors of sexual assault and domestic violence. It's called I Believe You. And that's the name of my organization that has been formed and in the process of being 501c3 status. I wasn't believe, I believe you.
I Believe You is going to be your .org?
Yes.
Like all one word, I believe you?
I believe you. I believe you. I believe you, inc.org. Can you do that, inc, or does it need to be I believe you.org?
I don't know. You'll have to find that out. But I wouldn't add an INC into it if I didn't have to, because I Believe You is so perfect.
Okay.
Just the way it is. Tanisha Bankston, wow, you're a force of nature. It's pretty amazing. Your level of resilience is an inspiration, I think, to anyone who's listening to this tonight. If anybody is listening to this who has walked a similar path, what you take out of this is that it is possible. It is possible to survive. It is possible to thrive. And so I want to thank my guest, Tanisha Bankston, author of My Pain is My Power, giving others a safe space to talk about abuse. And thanks to you for listening at home. Join me in 2 weeks, please. I won't have a show next week, but in 2 weeks, my guest will be Phyllis Donardi, founder of an organization called, are you ready for this? This organization is called We Are Love. So I can't wait to talk to her, right? But no show next week in honor of Juneteenth. So let me wish Happy Father's Day to all the dads who are out there. Thanks to our producer, Robin, to our engineer, Ruben. Music provided by Mozart. I don't know why he works for us. He must need the money. Let's do it again in 2 weeks. Stay safe, everybody. Until next time, remember, it's only Monday, so there's still plenty of time to make this week the best week ever. Good night, everybody. Someone wrote, thank you, Tanisha. I believe you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
This usually ends fairly abruptly, so don't think you're being punished, okay?
Okay.
The connection just kind of goes. Ruben, everything okay?